Day 3 of the DNC kicking off, and we're seeing a shift in this race. Vice President Kamala Harris holding a slight lead over former President Donald Trump. That's according to multiple polls. It's a much different landscape than it was just a month ago, when the future of the Democratic campaign was uncertain. Joining me now is Lee Carter, president of Maslansky Partners and author of Persuasion: Convincing Others When Facts Don't Seem to Matter. Good morning. First, I love the title of your book. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you expect a continued boost for Democrats once the DNC wraps up? What will Harris need to do to keep this momentum going, Lee?
Well, I think one of the things that's really interesting right now is that only about 2/3 of Americans think that they understand exactly what Kamala Harris stands for. Despite the fact that she's been around for a long time, that she's been our vice president, she still has room to define her platform. And I think if she does that in a meaningful and powerful way throughout this week, we're going to see continued bump. What's so fascinating to me is that only 1/3 of Americans were excited about Joe Biden being the nominee, but 81% of Democrats are now excited about Kamala Harris being the candidate as the Democratic candidate for the President of the United States. It's a huge shift in momentum, and I think we're seeing that energy play out in Chicago.
And Lee, you know this as well as I do. The next big showdown between the candidates, yeah, we have to talk about it already. It's in less than 3 weeks. How can the Trump campaign close the gap until then? Again, it is within the margin of error, even though Harris is leading slightly.
It is within the margin of error, but when you look at the swing states, Trump still does have a very, very, very small edge. But I think the thing that Donald Trump needs to take back is he needs to take back the economy. He needs to stop reacting on things like crowd size. He needs to stop reacting to the comments about being weird. He needs to stop reacting to everything that the Harris campaign is throwing at him and go back to what he was doing right before Harris was the nominee, which was talking about the economy, talk about immigration. When you think about where he stands on the economy, he has a 10-point lead over Harris on the economy, even still. And that is the #1 issue to Americans right now. Fewer than 1 in 5 Americans feel they're better off today than they were when the Biden-Harris administration took over. And so there's real room for that. If Trump stops being defensive, starts going on the offensive again, really starts defining her as a continuation of the last 3.5 years, I think he's going to see some momentum shift back to him.
I'm glad you mentioned those battleground states. Let's talk about states like Arizona. What are they looking for when it comes to Harris's speech Thursday night?
I think in Arizona, it's going to be really important to folks to understand exactly what she's going to do on immigration. But also the plan on the economy is really, really important to those folks as well. But one thing I want to point out is that a lot of folks are saying that Kamala Harris is going really, really far left. But I have to say that some of those policies are very, very popular. 65% of Americans, including Republicans, believe that government should provide us all with free health care. 63% of Americans say that we should have free college. 63% of Americans say banks should be more regulated. These are all things that are historically associated with far left policies, and yet they're very, very popular. And so I think if she lays out an agenda that's really clear, not too complicated, that she could have some real traction in some of those battleground states like Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and others.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.